This is Isra Elba's latest movie on Netflix, and one of the rare times that I mentioned to my mother we were going to review a movie, and she said, "Oh, with Isra Elba," and I was like, "Where'd that come from?"
Film we're going to cover here is Concrete Cowboy, which is streaming exclusively on Netflix. And this stars Idris Elba and Caleb McLaughlin, who is from Stranger Things.
Interesting movie. It takes place in Philadelphia, and kind of like just outside the city. And you learn that Philadelphia had this strong equestrian cowboy history that I had no idea ever existed in the city of Philadelphia or on the light outskirts of it. And Israel Elba is the father to a young boy whose mother is kind of fed up, and he in the city of Detroit, he just keeps getting in trouble and he gets thrown out of school. She says, "You're gonna go live with your father." And little does he know, his father is a cowboy in the city, which is very weird. It reminds me of that old movie with Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson a little bit, but it's nothing like that. But it's just
no, it's not.
Horses in the city, but that's what it is. And so Israel Elba's character is real rough, kind of cowboy, no nonsense, and this young boy has to make a decision. He's going to go kind of be with somebody that he knew when he was young, who was kind of a street kid and got into a lot of trouble in the city of Philadelphia, or is he going to kind of adapt to his father who's saying, "Look, it's my way kind of, or the highway, and I'm willing to give this a shot if you are." And I thought Israel Elba did an excellent job in the role that he did, and so did the young Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things, who had his first kind of starring movie role. I thought he was solid, and boy, he has grown up. To your point, he looks a lot different now, but
yes, he does.
Time flies. But he did a good job in the role. What do you think of this movie?
I really enjoyed the movie, but it's the ending that got me. The rest of the film for me was kind of average. It was completely predictable. Okay. I found everything. I knew what was going to happen before it happened. It's one of those stories where I don't think you're going to walk away with any major revelations. What was fascinating, though, I like the opening sequence, though, because you find out that Caleb McLaughlin's character is a troubled kid. He's being the school says we can no longer house him at school. You're going to need to get him some special help. He's caused too many problems. So he's a problem child, and the mother can't handle it, so she drops him off. To your point, that opening sequence where she's dropping him off, he's like this, supposed to be this hard kid, right? Soon as she drops him off and dumps his things outside the car and then locks the window, she sits there for a minute because she doesn't know if she can do it. And then he walks around and she starts to drive away, and he's like, "Mama, no, mama, no." And you feel for the kid, right? That child, that inner child comes out, and you could feel that cord is being cut, and he's going to find that it's going to get very uncomfortable for himself. And it does during the film. The side story with him and a friend of his called Smush, predictable.
Yeah.
But the ending is what got me. I really like the ending, and especially in the credits, when you find out how many of the cowboys that were in the film were actually real from that community and not actors. And I got to tell you, usually when you get real people in these films that aren't actors,
right?
You can tell.
Right.
This time, I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah. I thought they did a great job. They brought a levity to it that was real, and you could tell it wasn't Hollywoodized.
Right.
It was a little emotional towards the end for me. I really did enjoy it, and I do recommend it. So what did you think?
I mean, I thought it was a unique story in the sense that, there was definitely that moment where mom had to cut the umbilical cord from the son, and that was tough. And that's a really hard thing that moms sometimes have to do for sons, especially single moms, because they just want to love them and take care of them and be with them, make sure their life's okay. But sometimes the best thing you can do is to allow that young man to become a man. And that's what this was. This was a journey of someone going from a boy to a man in this very unusual, equestrian ridden story. But it really shows that there's just some things that you just have to learn, that young boys have to learn on their own or from their father or from their environment, that you can't force it down his throat. And that's what I really enjoyed Israel Elba's performance, because he was the dad that he was there for him. He left the door open for him and his son to have a relationship. He didn't shove it down his throat. He didn't say, "This is how it's going to be." He said, look, you know what? You have a choice. You know, family is not the place where you live, it's who you're with. He kept repeating that phrase throughout the movie because it was so important. He really felt like, you know, for a little while, it felt like his mom abandoned him and he was just thrown out there instead of kind of accepting his responsibility and the choices that he made in his life and saying, this is where this path has led me. And that happens to people that are grown sometimes as opposed to 17, 16, 17 years old. So it's a really interesting story in the sense that it hasn't been told before.
No,
it's not groundbreaking in the sense that it's some great, you know, story that you can remember the rest of your life. But if you, you know, it really gives a good insight into another lifestyle that's never really been depicted on screen of African-American, you know, cowboys and how that plays out today and how it's played out in the past. It's really not talked about. It's kind of something that Hollywood really has never really explored. So in that way, it's a very unique film. And I think most people that will sit down and watch it will have a good time with it and get to see their Stranger Things young boy become a man. And that makes an interesting movie. What do you think? What was your score on this one?
Well, real quick, I wanted to mention something that I did find fascinating in the movie that you don't really see in movies like this today is when he actually got put into that community with these cowboys, they have a very strict life that they lead. Mm-hmm. They don't let garbage into their community. Mm-hmm. And they make it very clear that if he goes down a certain path, he won't be welcome. And they stick to it. Like there is a strict rule that they are not going to let garbage in their community. Mm-hmm. And you wish there was more of that around the country because that's the way they live and it keeps it orderly there. And they're not having to worry about each other. You know, they do take care of each other and it's not a gang type situation. They're not bad people. They're very good people. And we don't see enough of that in society and depicted in that way. So the fact that it's true and that it's real. And like, if you notice on the screen when they go to get some horses at one point in the film, it said 2019 on the monitor. So I think this is the way they were depicted, this is a current story. This isn't something being told in the 90s or the early 2000s.
Right.
This is today. It's actually happening today and it is real, which gives more weight to the end of the movie. So as a movie, I gave it a 7. So as a film, though, I did give it an 8. I think there is a message in there, which is a good message that society does need. And it's going to tug at your heartstrings a little bit. It was really well done. And you do get to see this boy become a man through it and some of the situations that he has to deal with. And Idris Elba did a fantastic job in his role, but he's good in everything he does. I mean, he really is. I've never seen anything that he's done that has been bad. He doesn't do bad movies. Caleb McLaughlin is on his way up. So I think we're going to see him in more stuff because of this role. What was your score?
For me, same score as you for a movie. It's a 7. As a film, I wasn't able to probably pull as much out of it as you were. And I had to knock it down 1 and I gave it a 7. It was really touching. It's a good father and son and single mother story. If you've lived that part of your life or you've had some, you know, experience with that, either as a kid or as a mom or the dad, I would definitely think you'll enjoy this movie a little bit more than most. But for the casual viewer and most people that are real big, you know, cinephiles, I would say it's a 7. So 7 on both sides for me. It's definitely an enjoyable experience, but I wouldn't say it's great, is what I would say. It's very good.
I would have given it a 7, except for the end. It's the end during the credits that bumped it up for me. Well,
that's all we have for this week, you guys. Thank you guys for going on this ride with us this week. We are also available on YouTube, Facebook, Audible, Spotify, and the YouTube podcast store. So make sure you check us out, and we'll see you guys soon with our next reviews. I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
And we'll see you guys next time.